In this video, I would like to offer a reflection upon the child as a symbol of the spiritual life. From the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew 18:3, Christ says, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." The notion of the child to an adult and mature consciousness might seem on the surface, considered superficially, a kind of regression to put away to put away childish things, to grow and to mature, are all seen as markers of progress and development in human life, and rightly so. There is a sense of responsibility and cultivation of certain virtues which perhaps a child doesn't have, that are very admirable in the course of life. And so there is some sense in the idea that, we outgrow our childish ways through the course of life and through the course of maturation. But there is another sense in which there is a danger lurking in this process of maturation, in this process of growing up, in this process of becoming an adult, assuming responsibilities, putting away the levity and joy of youth, and being weighed down by the gravity of life, the stress, the burden, the great weight of it, letting this crush us, letting this fully crush our spirits, and really sort of coming to forget who we are in an inner sense, losing touch with a certain living and authentic core through force of sheer habit. So there's something to be said about the idea of outgrowing childhood on the one hand, but on the other hand, there is some kind of danger lurking in that process, and it's a spiritual danger. It's an inner danger, and it's something that's quite easy to not see and to fail to notice. And so I wanted to start with the Gospel of Matthew there, because that's a remarkable thing, I think, for Jesus to have said, that unless we become as children, we shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Of course, Jesus also says that the kingdom of God is within. And so there's, what are we to make of this? There is a whole sort of current of thought on this symbol, which develops in Romanticism, particularly in the English Romantic. William Wordsworth picks up on the theme in his ode to intimations of immortality in early childhood, famously. But another figure who sort of anticipates Wordsworth and writes some of the most brilliant poetry that I've ever read is Thomas Traherne. And so for Traherne meditated upon this line from the Gospel of Matthew, which I've just read, and let's say dwelt somewhat on this mystery of the meaning of Christ's words there. And so I'm going to read a poem entitled An Infant Eye by Traherne. A simple light from all contagion free, a beam that's purely spiritual, an eye that's altogether virgin, things doth see, even like unto the deity. That is, it shineth in an heavenly sense, and round about unmoved its light dispense. The visible rays are beams of light indeed, refined, subtle, piercing, quick and pure, and as they do the sprightly winds exceed, are worthy longer to endure. They far outshoot the reach of grosser air, which with such excellence may not compare. But being once debased, they soon become less active than they were before, and then, after distracting objects, out they run, which make us wretched men. A simple infant's eye is such a treasure that, when 'tis lost, we enjoy no real pleasure. Oh, that my sight had ever simple been, and never fallen into a grosser state, then might I every object still have seen, as now I see a golden plate. In such an heavenly light as to descry in it or by it my felicity. As easily might soar aloft as move on earth, and things remote as well as nigh. My joys should be, and could discern the love of God in my tranquillity. But streams are heavy which the winds can blow, whose grosser body must needs move below. The east was once my joy, and so the skies and stars at first I thought the west was mine. Then praises from the mountains did arise, as well as vapours every vine did bear me fruit, the fields my gardens were, my larger storehouse all the hemisphere. But wantonness and avarice got in and spoiled my wealth. I never can complain enough till I am purged from my sin and made an infant once again, so that my feeble and disabled sense reached only near things with its influence. A house, a woman's hand, a piece of gold, a feast, a costly suit, a beauteous skin, that vied with ivory I did behold, and all my pleasure was in sin, who had at first with simple infant eyes beheld as mine even all eternities. O die, die unto all that draws thine eye. From its first objects let not fading pleasures infect thy mind. but see thou carefully, bid them adieu, return thy treasures, abide thee still, and in their places stand, inviting yet and waiting thy command. There are a few words there I'm not sure that I said properly, because this is I think it's like 17th century English poetry, Traherne, and there's some words there, but the general, I've not read that one before. I've got this sort of collection of Traherne's works, which I really love, and have been very much moved by his body of poetry. But this theme for him is one of the paradise lost. The term that Milton, a contemporary of Traherne's, sort of coined in his work, Paradise Lost. But yeah, like the idea is that the child is in paradise in some sense. That the infant's eye beholds eternities and the light of God, and the beholds creation afresh in all its glory, and that there's something about the fall from this realm of perception, of being, of innocence, of joy, which is connected to the life of sin, and transgression of law, and guilt, and things such as this. This connects to the doctrine of the twofold human being, which I traced in earlier videos, in the theology of Origen, for example, or Meister Eckhart's, the flesh and the spirit, the dust to dust level of the flesh, corrupted by sin, and the spirit, which is the image of God. And so there's something about the symbol of the child, and the inwardness of the child, do I want to say state of consciousness, worldview, outlook, disposition of the child that is free, genuinely free and open, and marveling at things. This actually gets me on to something which I believe about philosophy itself, which is that this disposition of the child, like Christ says there in the Gospel of Matthew, that unless we become as children, we cannot inherit the kingdom of God. I mean, you could say the same about like, unless one adopts this disposition, unless we become as children, we cannot practice philosophy, because philosophy begins in wonder. And that disposition of marveling and wondering at things is childlike. The classic question of, why? Like, things are this way. Oh, like, why are they that way? And like that sincere wondering at the way the world is ordered, and the reason why things are the way they are. This is a disposition of wonder, a mood of wonder, and a mood of marvel. at the many mysteries of reality and of life. And a keen sense of that, I think, is important indeed, sort of foundational. It's like really the root of of the philosophical enterprise. Philosophy does begin in wonder, and the child is full of it, wonder, that is. And so the symbol of the child, I think, is something that us human beings would do well to remember at every moment along the course of our lives, at whatever age we are at. They say age is just a number. It's just a sort of is a number recording the passing of time. The elderly, 70, 80, 90 years old, will be renewed by this sense. And it's not just the old, it's just like every human being, really, because this the symbol of the child, it gets the essence of something. In Jungian, I think it's sort of a post-Jungian like development, this idea of our inner child, that there is a kind of inner core, an inner child which sort of witnesses all the events of our lives. I think there's something to that. I think there's something to the idea that we never really do grow up in our innermost essence, because we all have this capacity to see the world afresh in its glory, in its mystery, and marvel and rejoice at it anew each day. This is connected to this symbol of the child, is this newness, really, this freshness, because what is a child is a new consciousness, a new life, a new soul, seeing for the first time reality. So by contrast, you can sort of juxtapose that with someone who's sort of seen it all. That's what age, that's what experience sort of does. And these themes of innocence and experience, Blake so brilliantly draws out in his poetic works. But the eye of experience has seen it all before, and so has this veil of habit over their eyes. And really the point of this video, the essence of this video, is to share something about the idea of becoming aware of this veil of habit, and to drawing it back, to revealing those deeper eyes which see anew and see with fresh zeal and energy the great mysteries of life, and are drawn into them with passion and enthusiasm, because there genuinely are very many mysteries and wonders in the cosmos, and the child is right to right in spirit, so to say, to marvel at them and wonder why, and to be drawn into their beauty and their wonder and their color, and all these different facets of experience that that habit can sort of shut off from us in the course of time. And so, yeah, perhaps I'll conclude it there. I mean, it's something I've thought a lot about, and it's, I think, a very important symbol, this symbol of the child. And it's something that at each stage and phase and moment of our life, as we age, as we progress through time, it's like really important to remember, I think, because there is some sort of essential truth which the infant's eye, which Traherne's poem concerned itself with, the infant's eye does gleam. The infant's eye does see Eden in a way. So the idea of the fall and the loss of paradise, these Christian religious themes sort of have a resonance with the human experience in a very subtle and interesting way. There is a way in which we inhabited a paradisal disposition and dwelt in eternity. And there is a way in which habit and experience and maturity and responsibility and the weight of the world can weigh down upon that and sort of shut us off from it, and can be lead to a kind of fallenness. And yeah, I think there's quite an optimistic note or tone to Traherne, but it's not just I think Traherne's super important in it, but I mean, it's his poems motivated by pious Christian feeling there, because he is really reflecting upon Christ's words in Matthew, sort of elucidating those words, elaborating upon them. And the Romantics too, Wordsworth, Blake, if you count him, which I broadly do, this theme of childlike innocence, the fresh eyes, the doors of perception being sort of cleansed, is strong in Romantic poetry. And I think it's a very important and potent symbol, which is charged with meaning, and which sort of tells us something about ourselves and helps remind us of who we are and how to be in the world. So thanks for listening.